It's wonderful to see so many familiar new faces joining us tonight. I want you to think back to this morning. Recall the sounds that greeted you when you first opened your eyes. Maybe it was the alarm clock, the city traffic, or perhaps the early chatter of your family. Noise, in all its forms, fills our lives from the moment we wake to the moment we lay our heads down to rest. It's constant, isn't it? Yet, amidst this constant barrage of sounds, there exists a profound peace in moments of silence. This evening, we're going to explore not just the how, but the transformative why of silence. Why is silence something more than just a pause between noises? Why is it that in those quiet moments, we often find the answers we've been too busy to hear? Let's consider for a moment how our days are structured. Our lives are bustling and brimming with conversations, meetings, and media, all demanding our attention. But what if I told you that silence, that often elusive state, holds the key to clarity and calmness in such a noisy world? What if embracing silence could help you find a deeper connection with yourself and others? Think about the last time you allowed yourself to just sit quietly, without distractions, without noise. What did you feel? Was there a sense of unease? Or did you discover a moment of reflection that perhaps you didn't even realize you needed? This isn't just about finding time to be alone, but about enriching the quality of our lives. We live in a society that praises the busy, the loud, the fast-paced, but it's essential. We owe it to ourselves to cultivate moments of quiet. Silence is not empty. It's full of answers. When was the last time I truly listened to the silence? What might it teach me? Listening to silence isn't about isolating ourselves or disengaging from the world. Rather, it's about rediscovering ourselves, our thoughts, our needs. It's about creating a space where our minds aren't clouded by incessant noise. This is where true insight and inspiration spring from. Tonight, as we share this space, let's embrace the quiet. Let's learn together how silence can comfort us, guide us, and above all, transform us. It's time we gave ourselves the permission to step back, to listen, to be still. Because in those moments of stillness, we find the profound. We reconnect with the parts of ourselves that we've been too busy to notice. I encourage each of you, as we journey through our discussion, to think about how silence feels in your own life. Is it a friend or a stranger? And more importantly, how can we make it a welcome part of our daily experience? In our time together tonight, let's explore these questions, uncover some truths, and perhaps learn a new way to walk through our noisy world with a pocket of peace that is just a breath away. Thank you for being here, and thank you for listening to me, and perhaps more importantly, to the silence that awaits. When we speak of silence, many of us think of it simply as the absence of noise, the quieting of the external world. But silence offers us so much more. It is a profound presence, a fertile ground where our inner world can expand and flourish. It is in silence that we can hear our own thoughts, feel our deepest emotions, and touch a peace that the bustling world often obscures. Throughout history, silence has been revered across various cultures and by numerous influential figures as a gateway to the soul. The ancient Greeks saw silence as a space of contemplation and connection with the divine. In the East, sages and monks have long used silence as a vital part of their spiritual practices, a tool to achieve enlightenment or inner peace. These historical views reflect a universal truth. That silence is a powerful state which, when entered into with intention, can transform the very essence of our being. Often do you feel bombarded by the world around you? The endless stream of notifications, the buzz of traffic, the barrage of day-to-day responsibilities. Now imagine a space where none of that exists, a moment where you can breathe deeply, recalibrate your senses, and simply be. That's the sanctuary that silence offers. A respite not just from noise, but from the chaos that noise brings with it. The benefits of embracing silence are vast and deeply impactful. Mentally, silence allows our brains to rest, to reset. It's in these quiet moments that creativity often strikes, that solutions to problems we've wrestled with might suddenly appear clear and defined. Emotionally, silence can be a healer. It soothes the frantic energy of our hearts and minds, allowing us to feel more deeply, to become more attuned to our emotional state without distraction. And physically, the impact is just as profound. Silence can lower our blood pressure, reduce stress hormones, and even enhance our immune system. Let's pause for a moment. Think about the last time you sat in true silence. What did you notice? Was there a shift in how you felt, physically or emotionally? It's likely that in that silence, even briefly, you experienced a sense of calm, a relief that perhaps you didn't even realize you needed. Now, I want to share a simple, yet powerful story. There was once a businessman overwhelmed by the pressures of his work and life, who sought peace by traveling far away to a secluded monastery. He spent several days in complete silence, not uttering a single word. On his return, he found that the solutions to many of his problems were not in the hustle of the city, but in the quiet he had found in those silent halls. This man wasn't a monk, nor a lifelong meditator. He was just like any of us. He found what he needed in silence, not by running from his problems, but by facing them in the quiet. I encourage each of you to explore silence not as a luxury, but as a necessity. Start with just a minute or two each day. Sit quietly, let the world around you fade. You'll find that in these moments, silence speaks. It tells you about your joy, your sorrows, your tensions, and your elations. Let's make silence a regular part of our day. Perhaps start with just the beginning of your day or the end. Let these moments be your time to disconnect from the outer chaos and connect with your inner self. It's not about shutting out the world, but about letting the world not overwhelm our spirits. As we move forward tonight, remember that silence isn't about isolation. It's about the reconnection it fosters with ourselves, with others, and with. Embrace silence and watch as it transforms every aspect of your life, filling you with a profound sense of peace and a renewed perspective. Silence, for many of us, is a landscape both familiar and strangely daunting. Have you ever wondered why a room filled with silence can feel so loud? Why, in those moments when the world quiets, our thoughts begin to shout? It's a common experience, feeling an underlying anxiety that creeps up when the usual distractions fall away. This discomfort is not just about the absence of noise. It's about what the silence makes us face. The inner dialogues, the unresolved thoughts, the whispers of the heart that we often drown out with the busyness of our day-to-day lives. Let me tell you about a time I found myself facing this very fear. I was at a retreat, a beautiful, serene place designed for reflection and peace. But as I sat there surrounded by the stillness, I felt a rising panic instead of calm. My mind raced with the litany of tasks I had left unfinished, conversations from the past week, worries about the future, all demanding my attention. I realized then that I wasn't just avoiding the noise of my external environment. I was avoiding the noise within myself. So, how do we confront this discomfort with silence? How do we turn our fears into opportunities for growth and understanding? It starts with small, manageable steps that guide us gently into the quiet. First, consider integrating scheduled quiet times into your day. It might be just 5 minutes in the morning before the rush begins, or a few moments at night looking at the stars instead of a screen. These brief pauses are not just breaks in our routine. They are chances to listen, to really hear what our inner voice is saying without interruption. Another simple practice is to have silent meals. This is a powerful exercise in presence. By eating one meal a day in silence, you allow yourself to fully engage with the experience of eating. The taste, the texture, the smell, and the nourishment approach. This not only improves your relationship with food, but also deepens your connection to the present moment. And then there are technology breaks. In our digital age, silence is often filled with podcasts, playlists, and newscasts. Try to designate times when you consciously choose to disconnect. This doesn't mean you need to shun technology, but rather give yourself permission to step away from it. By doing so, you allow your mind the space it needs to expand and relax. Now, some of you might be asking, but what if I start feeling anxious? Or what if the silence becomes too overwhelming? These are valid concerns. It's important to approach silence like any new habit gradually. If silence becomes overwhelming, acknowledge the feeling. Sit with it for just a moment longer than you think you can. Then, if needed, turn on some soft music or step back into a more comfortable setting. Over time, you'll find that these moments of discomfort become less intense, less frequent. Silence doesn't have to be a void you dread. It can be a sanctuary you design. It's about building a space where you can be alone with your thoughts in a way that is healing rather than overwhelming. Remember, the goal is not to empty your mind or escape from thoughts, but to find a way to live peacefully alongside them. By embracing these practices, by stepping into the silence rather than away from it, you are opening a door to a deeper understanding of yourself. You're learning to be comfortable in your own company, to appreciate the richness. This journey into silence is not about finding the absence of noise, but about discovering the presence of your true self. So I encourage you to start small. Be patient and be kind to yourself as you explore the quiet. The whispers of insight and inspiration are there, waiting in the silence. Are you ready to listen? In our journey through life, we often encounter moments that ask us to stop and reflect. Yet so many of us rush through them, afraid of what we might find in the stillness. But what if I told you that in the silence, there is a rare opportunity to meet your true self, to engage with your deepest thoughts and to grow from what you find there? Silence offers us a unique kind of conversation. It's not filled with words or distractions. It's a dialogue with your innermost self. Let's consider what silence offers us beyond the quiet. When you sit in silence, what do you hear? Not the external sounds, but the internal ones. What does silence say to you that noise does not? Perhaps it whispers truths about your desires, your fears, your joys, and your sorrows. Maybe it brings forward a thought or a memory that's been waiting for space to breathe. This conversation with silence isn't always easy. It can be challenging to face what comes up when there are no distractions, but it is within this challenge that growth takes root. By listening to our silence, we learn to listen to our intuition, our inner guide that knows which paths we ought to take, which boundaries we need to set, and which connections we need to nurture or let go. Self-reflection is the mirror of personal growth. It allows us to see not only who we are, but who we can become. And the quiet questions arise, fundamental, sometimes difficult questions about our choices and our values. How often do you allow yourself the silence needed to ask, am I on the path that leads to fulfillment? Am I living true to my values? These are the questions that, when pondered in silence, can steer our lives towards authenticity and purpose. Consider the transformation that occurs when we dedicate time to silence. It's not merely about finding peace or an escape from the noise of everyday life. It's about transformation, about the metamorphosis that happens when we're no longer distracted by the constant chatter of the world. This transformation can be profound. It's in these moments of quiet that we might decide to change our course, to forgive, to love, to let go, or to embrace something new. Silence has the power to reshape our lives, to dissolve old patterns, and to forge new paths. Now, let me share with you a story about a friend who found her calling in the midst of silence. She was a successful lawyer, but she felt unfulfilled, restless, and disconnected from her passions. During a silent retreat, away from the demands of her career and social expectations, she came face to face with her long-suppressed dream of becoming a writer. The silence spoke to her about her forgotten love for storytelling and creation. It wasn't easy for her to step away from a successful career, but the clarity she gained in those days of silence gave her the courage to pursue her true passion. Today, she writes children's books touching the lives of many and feels more aligned with her true self than ever before. Let's take a moment now to think about what silence might be trying to tell you. What are the dreams and desires that have been drowned out by the noise of your daily routines? What might you discover about yourself if you allowed more silence into your life? To integrate this powerful tool into our lives, start small. Find moments for silence before the day begins or as it ends. Sit with the quiet and ask yourself those deep, guiding questions. Embrace the discomfort that might arise, for it is from this discomfort that growth can spring. Remember, it's not about emptying your thoughts, but about allowing them space to be heard without judgment, without haste. Each of us has a reservoir of untapped potential, ideas, and dreams that only need silence to make themselves known. When we learn to be comfortable with silence, we open ourselves up to profound growth and transformation. Let us not shy away from the quiet. Instead, let us welcome it, engage with it, and allow it to guide us towards our most authentic selves. The path to personal growth is quiet. And it is in this quiet that our true journey begins. Let's embrace the silence and let's listen deeply. What we discover will change our lives. In the tapestry of human relationships, silence is often misunderstood. We're taught to fill the air with words, believing that the more we say, the better we connect. But there's profound strength in silence, especially within our closest relationships. It is in those quiet moments that the deepest bonds are often forged, where understanding deepens beyond the need for words. Think about a time when you sat with someone you care about, not speaking, simply sharing the moment. Perhaps you watched a sunset together or sat quietly sipping coffee. Wasn't there a sense of understanding, a connection that words could not have deepened? This is the power of silence in our relationships. It allows us to communicate on a level that words cannot reach. Silence in listening is particularly transformative. In conversations, how often are we truly listening? More often than not, we're thinking about how to respond or perhaps not listening at all, caught up in our own thoughts. But when we embrace silence as we listen, we give space not only to the words of others, but to their pauses, their sighs, their unspoken emotions. We begin to understand them beyond their words, tuning into a deeper frequency of communication. Let me tell you about a couple, John and Sarah. They had their share of challenges and often found themselves arguing over minor things, each eager to get their point across. One day, during a particularly heated argument, Sarah stopped mid-sentence, took a deep breath, and just held John's gaze in silence. And that pause, something shifted. The silence allowed them to really see each other, to remember their bond, and to feel their shared pain. That moment of quiet understanding began to heal months of miscommunications. Silence has this incredible ability to strip away the superficial layers of our interactions. It invites authenticity and demands presence. In the stillness, we become acutely aware of each other's true emotions, and this awareness fosters empathy and closeness. It's about being together, truly together, without the distractions that often invade our interactions. Now, consider the role of shared silence in strengthening relationships. It's not merely the absence of speaking, but a shared commitment to be present with each other. Shared moments of silence can be incredibly powerful. They could be a form of mutual support, a way to enjoy each other's presence without the pressure of conversation. These moments allow individuals to feel united in their experience, to share a space where they are free from the need to perform or entertain. Incorporating moments of shared silence into our relationships requires intention. It might start with agreeing to spend time together without the usual distractions. No phones, no TV, just the two of you in the quiet. It could be as simple as a silent walk through the park or sitting together quietly at the end of the day. Over time, these silent intervals help build a foundation of deep mutual understanding and respect. To foster this in your own relationships, initiate small acts of silent connection. Next time you're with someone important to you, try engaging in an activity together that doesn't necessitate constant talk. Be it cooking a meal, doing a puzzle, or simply sitting side by side reading. Let the silence between you be comfortable and grounding. So as we navigate our way through relationships, let's challenge the notion that silence is empty or awkward. Let's redefine it as something beautiful, something essential for the growth and depth of our connections. Let us hold space for silence and watch as it transforms our relationships, fostering a deeper, more genuine connection. Just as a painter leaves part of the canvas untouched to speak volumes, we too can use silence to convey depths of emotion and understanding that words alone could never reach. In embracing silence, we find a new way to love, to connect, and to understand each other. We learn that in the quiet, the most profound conversations occur not through words, but through the heart. Let's treasure these silent moments. They are where the magic of true connection and understanding lies. Incorporating silence into our daily routines can seem like a daunting task, especially in a world that never sleeps. But what if I told you that integrating pockets of peace into your day isn't just possible, but can also bring profound benefits to your mental clarity, creativity, and overall well-being? Let's start from the beginning of our day. Imagine waking up in the morning and instead of immediately reaching for your phone or turning on the TV, you give yourself a few minutes of silence. Sit by the window, sip a cup of tea, watch the sunrise, and simply allow yourself to be present. This silent start can set a calming tone for the rest of your day, making you more resilient against the noise and chaos that might follow. Similarly, ending your day with a quiet routine can be equally beneficial. Before you go to sleep, spend a few minutes in silence once more. Reflect on the day, write in a journal, or practice some gentle stretches in a quiet room. This not only helps in winding down, but also improves your sleep quality by easing the mind into a state of... Now, let's talk about integrating silence at work, which might seem counterintuitive in bustling work environments. However, even in these settings, the benefits of periodic silence are significant. For instance, dedicating quiet hours or silent zones where no talking is allowed can dramatically boost concentration and productivity. It allows employees to dive deep into their task without the usual distractions. This practice not only enhances individual focus, but can also foster a culture of deep work that enhances overall organizational efficiency. But what about the challenges? Integrating silence into a lifestyle that's constantly bombarded by notifications and noise isn't easy. The first challenge many face is discomfort. Silence can feel overwhelming at first. It can stir anxiety or the unsettling feeling of being unproductive. To overcome this, start small. Introduce silence gradually into your routine so that it becomes a habit rather. Another common challenge is consistency. In our busy lives, finding time for silence every day can be difficult. Here, it's useful to link your quiet time to an existing habit. Perhaps right after brushing your teeth in the morning or while waiting for your evening tea to brew. By anchoring silence to regular activities, you're more likely to stick with it. And the rewards, they are plentiful. Regular intervals of silence not only enhance mindfulness and reduce stress, but they also allow us to reconnect with our inner self. Over time, you'll notice that you're more in tune with your thoughts and feelings, more creative in your problem solving, and more peaceful in your day-to-day life. Let me share a story of a teacher who decided to start her class with a minute of silence each day. Initially met with skepticism, this minute allowed her students to settle down, focus, and prepare for the lesson ahead. Over time, the students began to look forward to these moments of quiet, finding that they felt more attentive and less anxious about the school day. This small change had a ripple effect, improving the atmosphere of the classroom and enhancing the learning experience. As we move forward, I invite you to think about how you can welcome more silence into your life. What small changes can you make to embrace the quiet? Remember, it's not about creating a void, but about enriching your life with the presence of peace. By embracing silence, we open doors to deeper connections, not just with others, but with ourselves. So tonight, when you go home, try to spend a few minutes in silence. Listen to the sounds of the night, feel the stillness, and observe what thoughts come to the surface without judgment. Embrace the quiet and let it teach you about yourself. As you do, you may find that silence is not just a break from the noise, but a profound friend and a wise teacher. Tonight, we've explored a terrain that is both ancient and deeply personal. The profound and transformative power of silence. We ventured into understanding how silence extends beyond the mere absence of noise to become a presence that enriches our lives, a quiet force that can illuminate our thoughts, deepen our relationships, and enhance our well-being. We began this conversation by recognizing the constant noise that surrounds us, from the moment we wake to when we close our eyes at night. Amidst this continuous din, we learn that silence isn't just a lack of sound. It's a space for our minds to rest and our hearts to speak. It's where we connect with the parts of ourselves that the bustling world often drowns out. We discussed how embracing silence allows us to face ourselves truly and deeply, engaging in a dialogue with our inner thoughts and emotions that often go unheard. We've seen how silence can be a healer, a teacher, and a guide, showing us the way toward greater self-awareness and authenticity. In our relationships, silence has shown its strength, not just in words left unspoken, but in shared moments that build understanding and intimacy without a single syllable. At work, we found that silence can be a catalyst for creativity and concentration, an ally in our pursuit of productivity and peace. However, integrating silence into our daily lives is not without its challenges. It requires intention, practice, and a willingness to confront what arises in the quiet. But the rewards, greater peace, enhanced creativity, deeper connections, are well worth the effort. As we draw our evening to a close, I invite each of you to embrace a challenge. Choose one practice of silence to incorporate into your daily routine. Perhaps it will be a quiet morning meditation, a silent meal once a week, or a technology-free evening. Whatever you choose, let it be a space where you can reconnect with yourself, away from the demands and distractions of the outside world. Remember, the journey into silence does not require us to scale great peaks, or undertake vast pilgrimages. It begins with a simple, profound act: the decision to pause, to listen, to be still. It's in these moments that we often find what we've been searching for, not out there, but right here within us. As you step into the silence, remember that it's not an empty space, but a rich landscape brimming with the deepest truths of your heart and soul. Trust in the quiet, let it teach you, let it heal you. And know that in that silence, you are not alone. We are all together, each of us exploring the quiet corners of our being, finding there the strength and peace we need to face the world.